Hey, welcome to my booth. I'm Jay. I'm a professional award-winning audiobook narrator. Look at that. And I've got some tips for you on how you can improve your own audiobook narration and performances. Let's hop to it. Tip 1, commit. People like it when you dive in head first and you don't apologize about it. You don't waffle, you don't doubt yourself, you say, this is what I'm doing, and you go for it. If you think about people wearing fashion that may be kind of out there, it's not part of the status quo, if you wear it with confidence, people love it, and then you become an icon. That's kind of the same thing in terms of performance, and there are a couple different ways and places where this can really come into effect. I talked with my good friend and author that I've worked with for several books, Merritt Graves, and he said particularly in auditions, if you're committing to something, then it really helps your audition shine through in terms of what you might have to offer to the book as a whole. So when you're getting an audiobook audition, typically, you don't have the full context of the book, so there may be details that might be foggy, things that you might be unsure of, things that might be presented that you would love more detail about, but you don't have it. In those situations, commit to something and commit fully. So, for example, if I'm doing a book where there's magic in it and a spell gets cast and I don't really know what the spell is or why or what it does, but I can make decisions about that and how it relates to the world. There are a couple other tips here that will feed into this as well, but how does the world feel about magic? How is this magic spell cast? Is it something that is taboo? Is it something that's commonplace? Is it something out of the ordinary? Is this character's first time casting this spell? All of these things are decisions that you can make and commit to that then make you seem like more of a put-together professional. And you can do this particularly in auditions, but also in your full read. Tip 2. Space. How does it relate to how we perform? So as human beings, as we're walking around the world, we account for the spaces that we're in naturally. For example, if I'm in a loud restaurant and I'm talking to somebody at the table across from me, I may need to project a little bit more in order to be heard. Whereas if I'm in a really quiet space, like say a library, I may not have to project as much. If the person that I'm talking to is right next to me, I again might not have to project very much. But if they're far away, I may need to project a little bit more. All of these things are spatial cues that we do naturally with our voices when we're talking to other people or just in different environments. And this is something that can be really, really helpful in giving your reads and your narrations a three-dimensional quality. This has a couple specific ways that it really, really helps shine through. For example, if I'm reading a science fiction book and the characters are all on the bridge together, I can give sense of how large the bridge is, how loud the bridge of this spaceship is, how far away each character is from each other. So for example, if I'm giving directions to them, and then I give directions to them, and then I give directions to them, but then I go into the comms and I have to say something else. All of these things help give me a sense audibly how large the space is and who I'm talking to. Additionally, if I go from speaking in a space where there's a environment and I have to project, it can also help delineate when I'm in a scene with dialogue and characters are speaking to each other versus narration moments where I'm talking to the listener. And this can be if it's third person or if it's first person. But if I'm in a space and I say, "Hey, you," I said, "what are you doing over there?" "Well, I'm just crossing the street." He looked at me like he was saying something really important. I'm shifting from out in a space, I'm on a street scene for whatever reason, and then I shift to talking to you, the listener, as the narrator. And that can be really helpful in illustrating where we are in the text. This is something that would be visual on the page, but we can help translate by using this little tip and technique. Tip 3. Relationships. Now, this has to do with both character-to-character relationships, but also, as I was touching on at the beginning in terms of committing, characters' relationships to things, places, concepts, the way their world works. For example, in Lord of the Rings, excuse me, everyone, everyone has an opinion about the One Ring and Sauron. And the way that we would say or interact with that, we can give clues and context ideas as to how characters relate to that and how they feel about things. So if a character says, Mordor, we all of a sudden have an idea, oh, this is a place that is kind of dark, it's scary, it's something that's ominous in the world, there's mystery to it. But if they say, the Shire, there's a different feeling there, and we can understand characters' relationships to those places and the people that live in these places simply by how they say things. So in your audiobook narrations, if you commit to what a character feels about something, you can give the listener a bunch of context clues as to what that is in the world. And again, this can be places, it can be characters. If I say mom, I can say mom, and you know that I have affectionate feelings for mom as whatever character this is. But if I say mom, all of a sudden, that character and my relationship to them has a completely different tone, color, context that you as a listener can pick up on. And this is one reason why audiobooks are awesome, is we have the opportunity to do this. Tip number 4, kind of jumping right off of that, tone. We can give an overarching feel to the book as a whole in the tone of our performance. So if I, for example, have a bit of a brighter tone to it, a little bit of a sarcastic lilt maybe, that might indicate this is a certain type of book. Whereas if I shift to a slower pace maybe, and I have a gravelier texture to my voice, these are not necessarily the right thing to do, but they're options for me, and I can give a tone to the entire book that says, this is a kind of funny book that you're going to want to have a good time with, versus this is a mystery that has some dark edges to it. And if you think closely, you might be able to trace it. Anyway, one way you can think of it is certain movies, for example, or movie posters will have a aesthetic to them or a color palette to them. And this is kind of an audiobook narrator's version of that. If we look at Dune, for example, it's very monochromatic. It's very sparse in terms of its color palettes. They tend to follow a theme across the whole movie versus like a rom-com. A rom-com's going to have a lot of colors to it, generally speaking. And you can make that decision in audiobooks as well. And tip number 5. This is somewhat subjective, but I stand behind it. Imperfect is human and great. What I mean by this isn't like, hey, just wing it. You don't have to say every word perfectly. That's not part of the game. What I mean is your voice doesn't have to be crystal perfect, ideal the whole time, at least in my opinion. If there are moments of imperfection, that makes you more human. Now, this is a very case-by-case basis. If I'm doing a nonfiction book, the opportunities for me to introduce imperfections into my read may be a little bit more sparse than if I'm doing a, gut-wrenching memoir that's very introspective and I'm having conversations with people. Anyway, there are opportunities for imperfections. For example, I did a book where a character had to call their mom for what was possibly the last time, and they couldn't let their mom know that this was going to be the last time. It's a very, their parents know, calling both of their parents. Very moving scene, and my voice cracked several times during the thing. And it was great. In listening back to it, it adds a lot of imperfections to the read, and it maintains a level of humanity that I think is really, really nice when you have the opportunity to do that. So there you go. I hope these tips were helpful for you. If you'd like more of them, you can follow me here or on my other social stuff, and let me know if you'd like more of these down below. If you've got tips as well, would love to hear them too. Until the next one of these, be well, everybody, and I'll see you there. Toodles.